Listen, I'm not going to lie. I feel like I have aged about 87 years since the election. It has been a roller coaster for sure. I still have very definitive ideas about who I think actually won the election, but let's be honest, a lot of crazy stuff has happened in the last couple of months. People talking about Krakens and sieges in Germany and all this crazy nonsense. Lin Wood is actively losing his mind on Twitter as we speak. But you know what, folks? We made it. We have made it to what looks to be at least the definitive week of this election cycle. I kind of feel like I want to knock on wood immediately. My desk is wood. That'll have to do. But this is the week that we've been waiting for. This is the big countdown, the big rally, march, protest, whatever you want to call it, in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And the city of Washington, D.C. has been doing everything in their power to try to prevent this from happening. Hotels have been completely shut down. The mayor of Washington, D.C. has forbidden indoor dining. And literally, right before I made this video, I found out that she has literally called in the National Guard. Dear Major General Walker, as you know, First Amendment demonstrations permitted by the National Park Service are scheduled to occur in the District of Columbia on Tuesday, January 5th and Wednesday, January 6th. As a result, the district government requests D.C. National Guard support as these demonstrations will follow similar events on November 14th and December 12th, which resulted in a large influx of participants, violence, and criminal activity. Of course, what Muriel Bowser does not mention is that the violence entirely comes from the left. Listen, I didn't go to the December 12th one, but I did go to the November 14th one, and it was a completely peaceful day. Everyone was in a great mood. It was amazing. The violence started when Antifa and Black Lives Matter started to get involved. There was no violence up until the extreme left-wing groups showed up. But of course, they never talk about it in these letters. They never talk about it. And I'm fully expecting the exact same thing to happen this time. In fact, I suspect that a lot more people are going to show up at this particular march than at any of the other ones. And I suspect we're going to see some pushback. So if you are going to be in DC, please be safe. Please be smart. Don't be running around by yourself wearing a MAGA hat. That's the dumbest thing ever. Listen, I am not going to be wearing any Trump stuff. I'll tell you right now, that is not part of my plan. You'll make sure you have people around you. Make sure you have friends that'll help keep you safe. Be smart about where you go. Don't wear your MAGA stuff when you're by yourself. You're just asking for trouble, man. I don't want to sound like, you're a woman that's asking for it, but we need to be smart about these things because we know exactly what the left is going to do. But I wanted to make a quick video about why I think it's important for as many people as possible to be there and what I expect to happen on January 6th. Now, insofar as the process and how that's going to play out, and will Mike Pence pull a fancy floor stunt or won't he, and who will object and who won't? Listen, I think that ultimately I have absolutely no idea how this is going to play out in Congress. I have absolutely no idea, and frankly, neither do you. Neither does anyone right now, except for the people that are actually directly involved in the scenario. There are a lot of crazy rumors, there are a lot of ideas, there are a lot of theories about how this is going to play out. From my perspective, I don't really think it matters, though. Not that I don't think it matters in terms of, I of course want Trump to serve another term, and I do think it matters in terms of historical context, but in terms of showing up, being a part of the march, being there to express your voice, express what you believe in, express your values, stand up for what you want, I don't actually think the final outcome matters. And I'm going to make the case as to why. Why there is value to showing up and being a part of it regardless of the outcome, because I think that the minute that we get too involved on what the outcome is going to be, we forget that the process of getting to that outcome is just as important. Did you speak up? Did you stand up for yourself? Did you fight back? Listen, many of you know, if you have watched my channel for a while now, you know that I spent the entire back half of the year traveling around with Walkaway to blue cities all over the country to hold rallies. We tried to get people to speak up. We tried to get people to come out and express themselves. And many of you did. Thousands of people came to our rallies. but many of you didn't. And you made excuses about why you didn't. And January 6th, I'm sorry, we have reached the point of no more excuses. Either, as far as I'm concerned, either you are a fighter or you are a coward, and there is no gray area in between. I don't want to hear any excuses from anyone about why you can't show up and how your lawn needs to be mowed or how you have to do this or that or the other thing. I am tired of it. I'm tired of it. I understand that there may be logistical reasons why it might be impossible for you to get to Washington, D.C. on the 6th. Fine, granted, but you can show up in other ways. And I'm so sick of hearing the excuses that come out from the right every time something like this happens, and they're too scared to speak up and speak their mind and express what they believe in. Expression for me is the goal. It's not necessarily about the outcome. I cannot worry about the outcome. I can't say that it was or was not worth expressing myself if I end up losing, because I value expression purely for the sake of expression. So I want to go through this Twitter thread that I sent out the other day, because this is one of the things that this is my position on why it's important to show up for January 6th. So it started with Joel here. Joel is the senior editor-at-large of Breitbart, so you might assume that he's someone that would actually be a fighter, but alas, Joel has not taken in the spirit of Andrew Breitbart at all. He said, I am not the only conservative who opposes what some Republicans plan to do in Congress on January 6th as protests gather in front of the White House. Here I do not speak for anyone but myself, but while I believe the election was neither free nor fair, I do not support this effort. Now, here is my response to people like Joel that are running away like cowards with their tail between their legs. I've consistently said that I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not going to believe either outcome is a sure thing. And I think it is important to start there, because this has been my position since Election Day. I did everything I could up until Election Day to try to encourage people to vote in the way that I thought was going to be best for the country. After Election Day, I have to go like this, because not that I don't care about the outcome. I do care about the outcome, but I cannot get myself so invested in one specific outcome that my emotional security gets destroyed if I don't get the answer that I want. If Biden ends up being the person inaugurated, we have to move forward. We have to keep going. That is not the whole point here. We are going to survive if Biden gets inaugurated, but that doesn't mean we stop fighting back. I continue, but I also think there's value in fighting and standing up for what you believe in. This thread right here, this is what being a coward looks like, referring to Joel saying, I just don't support Republicans fighting back. That is exactly the wrong answer. The value of speaking up and fighting is true regardless of the outcome. It's about knowing that you have every right to your opinion regardless of how much others try to convince you that you don't. And it's about showing the other side you won't roll over and take it. We teach people how to treat us. The right has been quiet long enough. Regardless of whether it's Trump or Biden, it does not matter. Use this to light a fire under your ass and say, we will not be treated this way any longer. We will not keep our mouths shut any longer. We will not be scared to wear the hat we want to wear in public any longer. That is the only way that you get any positive outcome of this. Because listen, dude, if Trump does end up making it, if like the 5% chance that he ends up pulling off this thing, if he does end up making it, that does not mean that you get to go and kick it back and put your feet up on the ottoman and like relax on the couch. Be like, Trump's got it for 4 years. I don't need to fight anymore. No. If this election did not teach you that it is necessary to stand up for what you believe in, not just, here's what I heard leading up to the November election. Like, Carlin, the right, we don't go out and march and rally. We vote in November, and that's how we make our voices heard. We vote. Well, guess what? Not good enough. Not good enough. And tomorrow, we're going to find out if people actually went out and voted in Georgia. We're going to see if the Republicans hang on to the Senate or not. Voting is no longer good enough, folks. It is not just about that. And if you cower in a corner and say, I'm just going to vote and that's all I'm going to do, or even some of you are like, there's no point in even voting anymore. I'm taking my toys and going home. Not effing good enough. Let's keep going. Remember the day after Trump's inauguration. The women in the pussy hats showed up. They lost. Why didn't they just stay at home? Why didn't anyone tell them it was a waste of time? Because the left knows there is value in the fight. The right is now just learning this lesson. How huge were the Women's March protests the day after the inauguration? They were everywhere. They were in DC. They were in every major city in the country. They were in major cities around the world. Didn't they know that they lost? Apparently no one told them. Apparently they never got that memo because they still showed up and had their voice heard, even though Donald Trump at that point was officially president of the United States. Why can they do it, but you can't? I conclude, I have no idea what's going to happen this week, but I'm going to be there on January 6th. Regardless, it's going to be a hell of a show. If we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. But at least we didn't give up and run away with our tail between our legs like a bunch of cowards. This week is not for me. For me, we all have our own goals. We all have our own priorities. For me, this week is not about win or lose. This week is about showing up, about making your voice heard, about standing up for what you believe in. If you can get to DC, then get to DC. Stop making excuses. Get to DC if you can. If you can't get to DC, then speak up in another way. Maybe get to your state capital, or make sure you're having your voice heard. You're offering support to the people who are there. Do something. Do something. The worst case scenario in all of this is that you do nothing. That is the only case that I simply will not accept and not excuse any longer. What November taught us, well, I already knew it. People like me already knew it. People like me that came from the left already knew this, but now a lot of you guys are just learning it for the first time. What November taught us is that voting is not enough. It's not. And if you think it is, then you are going to get exactly the government that you deserve. The problem is that all the rest of us who have put in the work, who have gone to the marches, who have gone to the rallies, who have sacrificed time at home, time with our families, money, dude, like no one's paying for me to go to Washington, D.C. I'm footing that bill myself. We've sacrificed all these things because at least we're fighting. At least we're fighting. All right, guys, so if you see me in Washington, D.C., like, come up, say hi. I don't bite. I'm probably going to be, I'm sure I'm going to be with I know other people from Walkaway are going to be there, but I'm also just going to be there probably hanging out, wandering around, checking things out, seeing what's going on. If you happen to see me, come up and say hi. I'd love to meet you. All right, guys, that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed it, I do try to do content almost every single day around news, politics, culture, anything that I find interesting to talk about. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, give this video a thumbs up, share it out to your friends, all that good stuff. That's all I've got for right now. I'll see you soon.